there was no one down there. They heard screaming coming from upstairs, and so they run upstairs, they get up there, no one's upstairs. And they heard the screaming again, and they realize it was coming from inside of the closet in the master bedroom. And so as the police are clearing the second floor, they yell out to this woman, and they say, "Who are you? What are you doing in the closet?" She yells back, "I'm Dolly, I'm okay, but I'm trapped." And so after the police finish clearing me upstairs, and they're sure and safe, they go over to the front door, and they try to handle the lock. They ask her, "Do you know what the key is?" She says, "No." And so before they start trying to break the door down, they did a quick search looking upstairs to see if maybe they could find the key to the closet. And sure enough, across the hall in the other bedroom, they found it on the ground. So they took the key back, they opened the door up, and no key, Dolly. She's okay, but obviously very frantic and panicked. They asked her, "No, what happened?" She told them a very abrupt, chaotic story. She said she had been hanging clothes inside of this big walk-in closet, and her back was to the door when she heard a fight break out on the first floor. And before she could even turn around to go investigate, she said the closet door was swinging shut, and she heard it lock from the outside, and she didn't get to see who it was that shut the door. The whole thing was a bit of a head scratcher for police, because they're thinking, okay, well, was it one person that attacked Fred downstairs that ran upstairs and shut and locked the door immediately afterwards before Dolly could come out and see? Or was there two people, one person downstairs attacking and one person upstairs shutting and locking the door? Or was it two other people? And despite the house being totally ransacked and there being lots of guys and stuff in their house, Dolly said the only
Give me that blood.
Despite these new developments,
Yeah.
facts of the case had not changed. It was still physically impossible for Dolly to elude this crime. She was locked in the closet from the outside. And so with Dolly in jail awaiting trial, investigators tirelessly hacked into her story to try to find holes in it, but they had no success. And so after every theory that might connect her to the crime was ultimately disproven, they had to drop the murder charges and Dolly was released. 7 years went by and the crime was largely forgotten about. And then in 1930, Dolly and her state lawyer boyfriend Shapiro broke up. Shapiro immediately wrote the police and said, you know what? I have to know a lot more about what happened to Brett than I've been on. And in fact, I have someone in the office with me right now that can tell you the whole story. Investigators flew to Shapiro's office and knocked on the doors and sang and sighed to the family they were
Hey.
His name was Otto Sandberg. He was a quiet, small sewing machine repairman slash aspiring dime store fictioner. In the story, he could tell that was more bizarre and foreign than any investigator could have imagined. It began almost a decade before. When Otto was a teenager, he had worked for Brett in one of his Milwaukee factories. One day in 1913, Dolly complained to Brett that her sewing machine was broken. And so Brett asked one of his employees who he knew was a sewing machine repairman, he met 17-year-old Otto at his house and fixed the sewing machine for his wife. Dolly knew her husband was going to send Otto specifically to their house. She was very attracted to Otto. And so when Otto showed up, she had on a full silk robe, stockings, and everything. Thus began Dolly and Otto's affair, which at first they conducted in a pretty typical way, meeting secretly in hotels, but when that became burdensome in their relationship back in the hospital hall, when Otto needed to sneak in and out around Brett's. But it wasn't long before those neighbors were asking Dolly,
Sure.
who's that strange man coming around your house all the time? And she would say, oh, that's my vagabond half brother. But Dolly and Otto knew they couldn't continue this way. But instead of breaking it off or returning to secret hotel liaisons, Dolly decided that Otto should take up residence in the hospital home in a secret hideaway in the attic. That way no one would see nothing. Otto, who had no family to miss him, quit his job at the factory, moved into the secret room, and then never left. Pretty quickly, Otto and Dolly fell into a routine where when Brett would leave for work for the day, Otto would come upstairs, they'd spend time together, and then Otto would leave the house, everything wrapped up. And before Brett came home, Otto would sneak back upstairs to write old stories about lust, adventure, and using newspapers and magazines like him. Around this time, Brett started complaining to Dolly about certain things in the house. He also started to notice they were running a lot faster than a couple times. He thought he was short stuff. But no matter how much Brett complained, Dolly was always able to convince him that everything he was hearing and seeing was in his head. And so over the next 5 years, they lived in 4 homes in the office, and always strange sounds and noises about the house would follow them. Brett were investigating. In 1918, Brett told Dolly he wanted to move something more new, and so Dolly hunted down a house in the attic in a very area. She sent Otto ahead. When Brett and Dolly arrived, Otto was already ensconced in the attic, and Brett moved in right beneath him. By the time Brett and Dolly got in their final argument on the night of August 22nd, 1922, Otto had been secretly living with them for almost a decade. On that deadly night, Otto was in a secret room listening to Brett getting louder and angrier and nearly getting physical with Dolly. And so worried that he might kill his lover, Otto left happily and ran downstairs carrying 2 25-caliber pistols, runs into the living room and confronts Fred. And Fred is astounded to see his formerly teenage sewing machine repairman, who abruptly quit the factory so suddenly and completely, now standing in his living room. And so Fred lunged at Otto, and all of them started shooting. It was then that Dolly actually escaped in an almost unbelievable way. Knowing the police would be there any minute, Dolly staged the house to avoid robbery and told Otto to lock her inside the closet and then ordered him to go back up to the attic. And so when the police got there, Otto was crouched silently right above the pits. After the killing, Otto moved in with Dolly in their new house, and even though they could have had a normal open relationship, Dolly ordered Otto to go live in the attic of his new house as well. It wasn't until a year later when Dolly was briefly arrested after the police found out about the hidden guns that Otto was forced to cut again. While Dolly was sitting in jail for these gun charges, she begged her state legal boyfriend, Shapiro, The secret held until Dolly and Shapiro broke up for good, at which point Shapiro told the police. Dolly and Otto were arrested, and the press went insane. They told us the Batman case is Otto living like a Batman game. This was before Batman had come. Otto was convicted of manslaughter, but the statute of limitations was up, so he was allowed to walk free. As for Dolly, she was allowed to walk free too, if the jury hung on her conspiracy to commit murder. After the trial, Otto disappeared and nothing more is known about him. As for Dolly, she stayed in LA and she died in 1961 at 2 weeks after marrying yet again. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the comments what it is and where you found it. Give us the timestamp. And then, of course, to do that, we'll pin you at the top of the comment section. If you enjoyed today's video and you haven't done this already, please replace the like buttons, cocoa buttons, and similarly shaped button. Also, please subscribe to the channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly 45 videos. If you want to get in touch with me, direct message me on Instagram or on Twitter. My username for both platforms is the same. It's just John Ballin 416. I also have other content over on TikTok where my username is Mr. Ballin. If you have a story suggestion, please send it to a subreddit just called Mr. Ballin. It's linked in the description below. So whether I see you on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, or some combination, just know that I really appreciate your support. And until next time, that's going to do it. See you. Here's what $5 a month with lemonade covers. Protect a lot for not a lot. Get Lemonade Renters Insurance for just $5 a month at lemonade.com.
Your shipping manager left to find themselves, leaving you lost. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description.
Today, I'm going to share 3 little-known, ridiculous backstories of 3 very famous people. And the last one has a very satisfying ending. But before we get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload 2 or 3 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please replace the like buttons, shrimp bucks, with Stanley Nichols. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Alright, let's get into today's stories. In 1971, a 19-year-old Irishman named William began studying physics and computer science at a university in Belfast, Northern Ireland. While he was certainly smart enough to complete the 4-year degree, after 1 year of being in the school, he decided to drop out because he felt like this was not the path he wanted to be on. So he moved back home to a town about 30 minutes north of Belfast, where he got a job as a forklift driver and truck driver for the Guinness Beer Factory. And while he loved this job, he still felt like this was not the path for him. He needed to do something more with his life. And so he decided he would pursue what 2 of his siblings had gone on to do, which was to become a school teacher. He'd always admired his school teachers growing up, and he idolized his 2 siblings that had become teachers, and so it felt like the right fit. And so William applied to a 4-year teaching college in Newcastle in England, and after he was accepted, he flew to England, he got set up, and then he began his studies. The first year was great. He loved what he was doing, he did feel like this is the right fit, and he was getting good grades, everything was going exactly to plan. But then year 2 happened, and everything went off the rails. A requirement to graduate from this 4-year teaching college was all the aspiring teachers starting in their 2nd year had to go teach real students real lessons. They basically had to go to high schools and elementary schools and fill in for the real teacher and give a real lesson. They were scored on their ability to do that. But all the aspiring teachers knew that when you gave these real lessons to real students, what really ended up happening was the students did not take the aspiring teachers seriously. They viewed them as kind of like substitute teachers, and so they didn't respect them and they didn't listen to them. And so typically, before long, the day was over, and nothing was really accomplished. So, in William's second year, when it was his turn to go over to a high school and administer his lesson plan, he went over there knowing what he was up against. He did not really expect it to go well, but he decided he would go in there with a positive attitude and he would try to do his best. But as soon as he walked into his classroom, he immediately could tell he was going to be overwhelmed. Everybody's standing up and talking amongst themselves, and they turn around and they see William walking in, and they have this moment of realization that their real teacher is not going to be teaching them that day. It's going to be this substitute, William, and they all kind of gleefully begin laughing and joking, and they just turned their backs on William and kept talking amongst themselves. So William goes inside, he puts his stuff on the desk, and he attempts to get the class to listen to him by saying, "Hey everyone, come on, sit down, time to listen up, I'm your new teacher for the day." But the kids just were not listening. And so finally, William, who was a really big guy, he was 6'4", he was in great shape, he kind of postured himself and then yelled at the class, "Sit down right now." And at this, the class did turn around and looked at William and kind of sized him up, and most of them decided, okay, it's time to sit down. And so 99% of the class goes quiet and sits down, except for one kid. It was this 15-year-old boy who was in the back of the room, and he was standing up defiant with his arms crossed, staring at William with a smirk on his face. And all around him, all his cronies were sitting down, looking up at him, laughing, and kind of looking up at William and laughing at him, knowing that a confrontation was about to ensue. And so William is staring at this kid, trying to get him to just sit without saying anything, and this kid is just mean-mugging him with his arms crossed, and nothing's happening. And so William walks right up to him, and kind of leans over his shoulder and says, "You need to go out the hallway right now, I will meet you out there." And then William turned around and started walking back towards the front of the room, expecting this to have worked, that this 15-year-old kid would just follow right along and he'd walk right out to the hallway and that would be that. But when he turned back around again, the 15-year-old kid had not moved. He was still standing in the back of the classroom, arms crossed, staring up at William, basically saying, "Make me." And at this, William lost his mind. He was so mad and so frustrated at how unbelievably disrespectful this kid was being, and really the whole class was being to him, that he just kind of lost it. And he ran up to this kid in the back of the room and he gets right up in his face. And remember, William is 6'4". He's a big guy. He gets right in the kid's face. He's like, "Get out the hall right now!" And this kid doesn't flinch. Instead, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a knife and he holds it right up against William. And William, without any hesitation, just winds up and blasts this kid across the side of the head, sending him flying over a kid sitting at a desk. He goes flying over this kid and crumples into the corner. And then when he stands up, he drops his knife and puts his hands up. And he's like, okay, I'll go out the hall. And William's like, go out the hall right now. And so the kid ran out of the classroom and goes out to the hall, and the whole class is totally silent. No one even wants to look up at William, but they're all kind of just looking down at their desk, trying to be as quiet as possible. And William walks back to the front of the class and proceeds to teach the rest of the lesson. As soon as the high school learned that this aspiring teacher, William, had basically knocked out one of their students, even though it seemed like it might have been a little bit deserved, they immediately told the teacher's college, and the teacher's college immediately expelled William. And so now William is suddenly jobless, and he's kind of lost again in the world. He doesn't know what he wants to do now because he really had committed to being a teacher. And so he goes back to his home in Northern Ireland, and he gets thinking about, what is he going to do next? And he keeps having this thought that he should pursue this thing that he's always been interested in, but he had never taken seriously because it felt so risky. But now that basically everything in his life had fallen apart, he had nothing to lose. So he decided, what the heck, I will do the thing that I've always wanted to do, and that was stage acting. And so he went and auditioned with a local theater company in Belfast. He was accepted into a theater troupe, and then 4 years later, he was discovered performing on stage by a Hollywood filmmaker. And they cast him in a movie, and the rest, as they say, is history. William Neeson, better known as Liam Neeson, would go on to star in dozens of huge movies and TV shows, and he's probably best known for his epic role in the movie Taken, where he is the CIA operative with a particular set of skills, and in this movie, he punches a lot of people in the face, just like when he was a teacher.
Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks and ETFs, all commission-free. Getting started is easy. You can invest in the companies you love for as little as $1. Waiting on the right moment? Uninvested cash in your account earns a competitive interest rate. Get your first stock on us. Download the app and take control of your financial future.
like when he was a teacher. In 1963, when Tim Dick was just 10 years old, he went over to his friend's house and he snuck a bottle of whiskey from one of their shelves. He pulled it out, he poured himself a full glass to the brim with whiskey, and then he downed it in one huge gulp. Tim had grown up idolizing cowboys on TV, and every time he watched them, they would go galloping into some town, they would go into the saloon, and they would sit at the bar just throwing back shots of whiskey. And so Tim always assumed whiskey must be this totally amazing, refreshing drink for these guys to be drinking it out in the heat of the desert. But unfortunately for Tim, after he slugged this huge glass of whiskey, it was not refreshing. It tasted like gasoline, and his chest felt like it was on fire. But instead of being turned off by alcohol and waiting until he was older and of age to try it again, Tim instead thought, you know what, the next time I have whiskey, I just need to water it down a little bit. And so for the next year, Tim continued to periodically sneak whiskey out of his friends' cabinets, and he would drink this watered down whiskey.